Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Scorpio, Sun, Moon or Ascendant. For the month of February 2023, I'm using the Night Sun Tarot for you today, so we can assume, we can extrapolate already, whatever's going on with you this month is very, very important, because this Night Sun Tarot doesn't come out for quiet months. So a little bit of housekeeping before we begin. If the reading resonates with you and you would like to go a little bit deeper, there will be an extended that you can access at the end. That's the first link in the description box. The second link in the description box is to the 6-month overviews that I've done for each of the signs. They run from January to June 2023, obviously. So if you are interested in what that time period might hold for you, you know where to look. The third link in the description box is to my private community, the Order of the Phoenix, over on Circle. It's full of awesome people, and it's a nice little bolt hole from the rest of the bullshit on the internet, frankly. I think, personally, anyway. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and check it out. So let's have a look and see what is going on with you, Scorpio. We have your Two of Wands in your recent past. Current energy for Scorpio, please. We have two cards. They are the Nine of Pentacles and the Sun. And then what is coming towards Scorpio, please? Thank you. We have the Six of Wands and the Queen of Pentacles with the Death card at the bottom of the deck. Now, before I do any reading, when I sit down to do stuff here, I always sit and meditate with these little coins that have the zodiac signs on them, and just kind of feel my way into the energy. And the Death card was so fucking there. It was actually the Crow Tarot Death card was all that I could see. We have this spirit of transformation absolutely permeating through the reading before I'd even started it. So I'm not surprised to see this Death card here. There are changes coming this month, Scorpio, and what I don't want to say is, you know, don't be frightened of it or anything like that, because you are Scorpio, right? Like, transformation is kind of your bag, it's what you do. But there's something very different about this kind of transformation as opposed to the ones that you are perhaps more accustomed to, I think. You know, it's all really good. It feels really good. But that might be the issue. If it feels really good, you might not trust it. And that would be a problem. That would be what would cause the problem for you this month. So I want you to pay close attention to the stuff that comes out here and apply it to your circumstances. And if there is a situation that feels like it's probably too good to be true, where you would emotionally walk away from that and go, well, I'm not trusting that, or, you know, kind of side-eye it quite a lot, it feels to me like this is a month where you have to give to that feeling everything that you have. So let's get some clarifiers out and see what's going on down here. Oh, actually, just flip this around so you can see it. As usual, my camera is wonky. God, so professional. Right, tell me about this Two of Wands, please. Thank you. Death card again. And the Three of Swords, which is coming out in the reverse, which is nice. Tell me about the Nine of Pentacles and the Sun card. We have the Tower reversed. Interesting. The Star. There we go. It's coming through. And the Eight of Wands. Tell me about the Six of Wands and the Queen of Pentacles, please. We have a fucking mess is what we have. Right, 10 of Wands, Page of Wands. Let's get one more card for that. The Page of Swords. With the Six of Swords here at the bottom of the deck. This is so fucking wonky. What the fuck? Right, let's fucking do that thing. Right, hopefully you can see moderately well what's going on here and you're not too triggered by the fucking lack of lines. Look at the level of energy that we have going on here with you, right? We've got certainly some of that energy rooted in where you have been rather than where you are right now, but it's coming through, it's bleeding through, and it feels like this, whatever this is, and we'll get into that in a second, has been paving the way for this. And this is important, as is this. So, like I said, pay attention to this one. Not to me necessarily, but to the feelings that you are feeling about stuff. Now, this Two of Wands here in your recent past is really quite interesting, because it speaks to something that I've been talking about the Two of Wands recently, and certainly in the last 2 or 3 months. We understand the Two of Wands to be a crossroads moment, and when we arrive at that crossroads, certainly ahead of time, what we envisage is that we're going to have one very clear route this way and one very clear route that way, and they take you to very different places, right? We have extremes, effectively, or certainly polarities, and the idea is we're going to pick that one or we're going to pick that one, right? The Two of Wands is that action of walking through those big decisions that we make. And this would be, I think, something that you are much more accustomed to dealing with than the alternative interpretation, which is what I'm about to lay out for you here. Because for me, the Two of Wands recently has been talking about the micro decisions that we make every day, the little decisions which, when built up over time, the cumulative effect of these becomes almost like a third way, a third option. And I feel like this is where you have been recently. Now, when I talk about your recent past, we could be very much talking about this morning. That's possible. We could be talking about that. Or we could be talking about 6 weeks back from here. You got to take it as it resonates to you, because it will be slightly different for each of you. And it's this understanding that every day we make 100, 200, 300 little micro decisions that dictate the way that our day will go from here on out. It isn't always about that big energy of left and right, which way do we turn? It's about, for some of you, it can be about little micro adjustments to the way that you run your day, to the food that you eat, to how much attention you pay to social media. When you pick up your phone, why are you picking up your phone? Is it because you are bored? If it is, probably put it down and do something else instead. Are you reaching for that packet of biscuits? Well, is that actually any good for you? Maybe we'll just put those down and eat an apple instead, right? All these tiny little micro decisions. And I think this is quite interesting, at this time of year anyway, because about this time of year, people's New Year's resolutions, the fatigue is starting to set in. And all of those good intentions that you set at the beginning of the year, that's this new year, new me, I'm gonna redo everything, I'm gonna be a completely different person. The thing is, you're bringing your old habits to an attempt to change your life for the better, to change it for the new. And instead, the real power is in those little micro decisions that we make every single day. And I feel like the reason for that is because they can show you a lot about the way that your mind works, So if you are, so I'm a Leo, so this is a really good example of this. If you are prone to grand kind of gestures, whether that's to the universe or people, do you have the stamina to see that through to the end? Or do you make the big dramatic announcement, I'm going to change my life, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do the other, I'm going to exercise every single day of the week for 6 weeks and lose 3 stone? Are you backing this up with the kind of long-term mental shift that is required to take you from one state to another? Because that's what the Death card's talking about here, right? It's that transformation. Here's the state you're in, there's the state you want to be going towards. What are the adjustments that you are making in the day-to-day, in the little decisions that you make, that are going to take you to where you need to go? Now, this Three of Swords is quite interesting, because for me, when the Three of Swords is reversed, it talks about a healing process. Right? We have other cards that talk about healing, and they're mostly actually in the major arcana, so big energies of temperance or even the Star, actually. But because the Three of Swords is minor arcana, it's really interesting. I did a personal reading the other day for a woman, and she said, I believe life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you respond to it. And I was like, you're fucking bang on. That's exactly what it is. And this feels like it's talking about the 90%. If you want to make the biggest changes, Scorpio, it has to be in the 90%, not in the 10% of the grand gesture or the, that brief kind of flash of inspiration where you're going to do this, that and the other, you're going to change your life, you're going to do whatever, right? It's got to be in the graft. It's got to be in the details of the situation. And sometimes we are not aware of how our mind is constantly actually kind of pitted against us, because we're fighting against subconscious cycles that often we don't even know exist. So, in your recent past, I feel like you have been paying attention to these details. And this is important because it's been setting the scene for where you go next. It's creating a fertile ground for where you go next. And we have here the Nine of Pentacles with the Sun. Now, two incredibly positive cards on their own, to be honest, as far as I'm concerned. But the combination of them together is really quite profound. And it gets even more so when we start bringing in the clarifier cards. Now, I see this Nine of Pentacles as talking to your state. This is you, Scorpio, as I'm talking to you now. It, for me, is about good resource management, about good energetic management. What are you doing with your energetic resources? Where are they? Where could they be better utilized if they were focused on one thing? And what do you have the potential of excluding focus from if you choose to focus on this one thing? When the Nine of Pentacles appears, it talks about a state whereby we have not got the same level of energetic leak that we have before. Now, this could be about your response to money, the relationship that you have with money, for sure. But it can talk about many other things, because whatever you have at your disposal, which is capable of being invested, is a pentacle, as far as I'm concerned. So your time and your care and your effort, and your money and your love, we've talked about this a long time on this channel. But it's here with the Sun. Now, the Sun is Leo. It is consciousness. It's sometimes about children too. And there's a lightness, there's a almost like a levity in the energy that is here with you at this point. And that actually, the reason why I said what I did right at the beginning was that I felt that there was a distinct issue with the possibility of you sabotaging something that is good and feels good and is perhaps a result of you managing your resources in the way that you do, or certainly the way that you are at the moment, where everything just feels nice. That natural suspicion kind of coming in and going, nah, I'm not sure about this. I get a lot of comments about this Five of Cups here. People are very interested in this. I mention it because it's a Scorpio card, right? This is Lord of Disappointment. Now, as it happens, this painting is actually not the Five of Cups. It's made to look like the Five of Cups, but what is missing are the cups here. We have someone who is staring at the stream instead. Now, I keep that there as somewhat of a reminder to get me to look up, because I am prone to doing that, or at least I have been prone to doing that. And yes, I have some heavy Scorpio influences on my chart. And I don't want to do that anymore. I want to remember to look up and see the beauty and see the wonderful things, see everything that I have that I can be grateful for. So that's why that's there. It's kind of like a weird sideways memento mori, right? And I'm getting shades of the same thing here for you. Remember to look up. Remember to see the beauty. Remember to see all of the good. Make yourself see the good in you. And don't get to a point where you feel like you need to blow it up, you need to sabotage it in some sort of way, because it obviously can't be trusted, because it's not part of your life experience. We don't recognize this, it's alien, it's a threat, therefore we've got to torpedo it and just move on. Not so for you, not at this point, because it could well be that some of you are getting some really good news right now. Maybe you've already received it, maybe it's coming in, right? There's that Eight of Wands. And it is with regard to your future. It could be with regard to where you are going in your future. For me, the star card talks about many things. We've already touched on healing right there, but it can talk about the direction of travel, right? The star that is going to lead you to where you go, ultimately. Something that is pulling you towards your purpose. But it's got a slightly nuanced side meaning for me there too, because when you look up in the sky and you see, metaphorically speaking, your guiding star, what needs to exist between you and that celestial body, whether it actually exists or whether it's something internal, whether it's a feeling, whatever, is a sense of trust between you and that. There's a relationship there, there's a connection there. And that connection is so strong that you look at that guiding star, that guiding notion, whether felt or seen or heard or perceived in some other way. And you say, I trust you enough to know that wherever you take me is going to be cool. You know, the tower is a redirection. And the funny thing about this is it's saying you don't need a redirection here. You need to look up. You need to look at the star. You need to have faith in the amount of healing that has occurred in you. And you need to trust whatever is coming in. Now, the other meaning of the Eight of Wands is actually momentum. And it could be that there is some momentum starting to pick up on something that specifically relates to your guiding star, your guiding principle, perhaps even. That feels really positive. What we don't want to do at this point is fall into old patterns where the Lord of Disappointment becomes instead something that supplants the energy of the star here for you. Be realistic, yes. Don't allow yourself to be swept away with flights of fancy, of course. But it feels to me like there's a pull for you this month, and it is really, really strong. Now, when we move into what is coming towards you in February, we have the Six of Wands. There's another Leo card there, along with the Sun, and the Queen of Pentacles, which is Capricorn. Now, the Six of Wands is very much concerned with victory. And when it comes to this Six of Wands, there's a public element to this. You know, wherever you have Leonine energy, there's often this sense that there's an increased visibility with something, right? You are more visible to the people around you. And so it becomes almost like a conspicuous public victory. One that you not only just feel, but other people can see it around you too and go, holy shit, you did really well with that, well done. And it relates to the way that you are taking care of and investing in yourself. I mean, the way that the Nine of Pentacles and the Queen of Pentacles sit together here for me, it's really positive, it's really, really strong. It's very reinforcing of each other, actually. Because although for me the watchword of the Queen of Pentacles is self-care, taking care of yourself, looking after yourself, changing your life, and certainly, I mean, we could be talking about earthly concerns here, so it could be around, what you're putting in your mouth or the amount of exercise that you're doing, but there's a little bit more to it than that. It's these little micro adjustments. It's these tweaks. It's doing something to your energy, which is putting you in a position where you are becoming inspirational to other people. Now, I never thought that I would say that of a Scorpio. Not because you're deserving of it, but because this part of you that does not like to be seen, right? It's part of your cosmological blueprint, so we're not going to criticize it. It's part of who you are. Is kind of falling by the wayside, though. You know, there's this sense that you are leading by example. So you might not be out and actively teaching people, but the way that I feel the energy going this year, there's a stratification that's going to occur. I think. I do believe this very, very strongly. So, and this has been coming up a lot actually in the personal readings that I've been doing in the last couple of weeks. We know that Pluto is moving into Aquarius, right? It's happening towards the end of March somewhere. It's leaving Capricorn behind. And this is a big deal because Capricorn represents structure, it represents those things that we know, right? It's working to a particular rule set, and everybody kind of knows the rules. And the more you adhere to the rule set, the more successful you are. This is A plus B equals C. But the movement of Pluto, we've got some very Plutonian energy going on here. The movement of Pluto into Aquarius means that we are moving into an era where Aquarius rebels against what was before. Aquarius does not accept the status quo. Aquarius will not work to the rules that everybody else works to. It's not interested. It's interested in innovation. It's interested in the future. It's interested in how things can be anything other than what they are right now. And the stratification that I feel coming is between those who have done their work and they feel the energy shift, and they're fucking working their asses off, which you have done, Scorpio, to put yourself where you are right now. But be under no illusions, right? You are definitely in a transitional state this month. And those who will be blindsided, those who have been slavishly following the rules, the structure, the hierarchy. There's something about this month that is setting you apart, right? Very clearly, as if you weren't already, putting you in that other side of the strata. Those people who are prepared for the chaos that may well ensue this year, but are coming from a place of such personal strength, understanding self-care and whatnot, that you will elevate. Without even trying, you will become more visible. And people will be paying attention to what it is that you do. Because the Six of Wands is all about victory, right? It's about experience, actually, because it's a Wands card. It's about the experiences that you have. So the experiences that you have that other people can see, that stem from your nurturing, of yourself and your circumstances and the people that you care about, is going to have you very visible. Now, it's quite interesting when we have the Ten of Wands at the bottom of the deck here, because this talks about the way that things have been hard for you up until this point. If you've been with me any amount of time, you know that I love the Triple Goddess, because it is literally the only deck that I own. And as I'm looking around the room, I can inform you that I have an obscene number of tarot decks. It's literally the only one where the character is depicted as putting the burden down. There is something about the way that you have been trying to live, and I feel like you've been kind of straddling two worlds for a little while here, Scorpio. But 1 foot in the old and 1 foot in the new. This is the month where you really lean into the new, plucking your foot out of the sticky mud of where you have been, in preparation for what happens in a couple of months' time. But in terms of an elevation, a lifting out of you from a state that has been burdensome, putting the fucking burden down. And I do think the burden is the lack of trust in the good things that might be happening. That's a possibility too. But also this sense of pulling away from the way that everybody else is doing things. This is a personal transformation of you. It's a personal transformation of your circumstances, but it's one that's happening ahead of time, right? Ahead of whatever comes next. I love the fact that the Page of Wands is following straight on after it, because obviously the minor arcana runs from the Ace to the 10, and then it often starts back at the Ace again, where we've just got those cycles running that way. But we can extend the cycle with the hierarchy of the suit. So we can actually go from the Ace to the King, much like you would in a playing card thing. What we've got there is an additional set of moves that separate you from the pack. Now here, it's about excitement. It's about that frisson when you think about doing something really fun that you love, that you enjoy. And this entire reading is actually permeated with the energy of that. I think we talked a few months ago about this notion of you turning from the darkness to look at the light. I mean, you're always going to be a creature of the dark. That's what you are. But the brightest lights cast the darkest shadows. And so, in order to navigate the bright light, which is where you're going, frankly, Scorpio, I feel there must be, on the other side, for there to be balance, this ability for you to be able to navigate with ease the darkness too, because it will be getting dark. You know, I feel like over the course of this year, that's what we're going to see when, you know, certainly when we pick up social media and we look around and we see what's going on. But it's not a distraction. You do not have to stay in the shadows. In fact, it seems it's quite the reverse for you. You know, I've often said, particularly in the last year, the greatest act of rebellion that you can pull at this point is to refuse to be sucked into the bullshit. Refuse to be afraid. Refuse to allow yourself to be stressed by what is going on. Because you can move through these circumstances, right? Life has been quite challenging for you on a number of levels. It's part of your inheritance as a Scorpio being incarnated on this planet. There are certain patterns that we recognize, right? And those often with Scorpio are extremely dark. But we're reaching out for something else now. And what seems to be so very important to underline for you in this reading is don't trip yourself up by failing to trust what is coming towards you, because all of this work that you've been doing in the last a year, 18 months, it's been preparing you for something, and it feels like this is the first month where you start to get a sense of what that might actually mean for you, and it's going to be different for each of you. This is my little grumbling tummy. This very last card is the Page of Swords, and it's interesting because that talks about, for me, it talks about a change in the way that you see stuff, right? The way that you allow your brain to process things. It's very much a card of the mind because it's swords. When this comes up, usually it's a really good one. We're talking about mental expansion and whatnot. But for you, at this point, I think overthinking or even thinking too much about anything would be a mistake. It's all got to be feeling-led, intuition-led, but definitely striking out towards the light as opposed to the dark. I think that this is a magnificent month for you, Scorpio, and I wonder, I feel like some of you might be getting a sense of what it is that you're here for this month. Because I know a lot of Scorpios, and I've seen them in the personal readings, have known that they were being prepared for something. There was a real strong sense of, you know, what they've been experiencing, not just in the last 18 months, but actually probably in the last 30, 40, 50 years, has been getting them ready for something. And here's the taste. It feels like it's coming in. Six of Swords at the bottom of the deck is very interesting because it's a swords card. We've got something being left behind here. But notice the imagery has us going from a dark cave out into the light, and it is that is drawing me more than anything else here for you at that point, this point rather. You're not supposed to live in the cave. You're supposed to be out in the brightness where everybody can see you. That's why you've struggled so hard. That's why everything has been so challenging for you. It has created this strength in you and this familiarity with the darkness. But it's all been in preparation for taking you to the light. And now it feels like it's time to embrace that, whatever it means for you. This is a really powerful month, Scorpio. I'm kind of blown away by this reading. It's cool as fuck. So I'm going to leave it there. If you would like to dig into this a little bit deeper, and we will be looking specifically at February and what you need to know about February, then do please feel free to come and join me over at the Extended. Like I said, that's the first link in the description box. But if that's not your bag, no shade, I am no problem with that at all. Just remember, don't turn away from something if it looks good, right? This is a month to lean into all of that with everything that you have, because the benefits will outweigh your fear. I feel that very strongly. Okay, and I leave it there. Know that I love you all very, very much, and I will see you soon.